practice, with prayer, lots, lots of that. With practice and prayer, I just became a whole new version of myself. And I pray that if you are watching this, that you have been one that I've been praying about that would be drawn to this movement and become a better version of you because we want to live our best life or whatever. So we got to be our best selves in order to do that. Hi, y'all. I am Alexis, and this is the official premiere of Soul Care. So I would like to welcome you guys as your host of this podcast and really introduce to you guys the vision of Soul Care and what I pray and hope all that it would be to you. So Soul Care was birthed in probably one of the lowest times of my life. And I was questioning my life. I was questioning if I wanted to be here. I was questioning how to navigate this life. And I decided to take a lot of steps back from the world and to really dissect my mind and my soul and my understanding of who I was and how I was showing up in this world. So Soul Care was birthed in a time that the world was going crazy. And I would say that now when I look at the world, I see a very hopeless world. I see a world that has been stripped of its true joy, been stripped of its sanity, and everything seems to be going up in flames. But I know that in times like this, there is one of two options of you to either step forward into a greater version of yourself or to shrink back and just be someone who speculates and watches and sees everything happen as it does. So the whole essence of Soul Care is that we would discover our minds in a different way than ever before, that we would learn about our spirits and our souls and why we are the way we are, dissecting topics and really getting to understand our point of view from the perception of wholeness, truth, and transparency. So as we go along in this journey, I'm definitely going to share more about my story to you guys. But today I really wanted to start Soul Care off with a topic that I think has stemmed my healing, my journey of healing, because I realized I was stuck in a place of feeling disappointed versus realizing you are in charge of your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul. What you feel can actually be controlled by you. And with practice, with prayer, lots of that. With practice and prayer, I just became a whole new version of myself. And I pray that if you are watching this, that you have been one that I've been praying about that would be drawn to this movement and become a better version of you because we want to live our best life or whatever. So we got to be our best selves in order to do that. So today we're calling it the dangers and domino effects of disappointment. And something interesting about the feeling of disappointment is that I think it happens in doses. That there's maybe not one exact thing that happened in your life that caused you to be grandiosely disappointed. There may have been smaller things in your life that have caused you to feel disappointed, unseen, unheard, unappreciated, looked over, walked over, whatever it is that you may feel. And I realize disappointment happens in doses. But the feeling of disappointment has so much power over the next move you make. And in order to be your best self and make the moves that are not from a place of trauma, but from a place of transformation, we must understand how to dissect that feeling of disappointment and let it work for us versus against us. Because I really realize that our minds can either work for us or against us. I'm either speaking life or I'm speaking death. There is no middle ground in my mind because it's either I'm standing and saying the highest version of myself is going to get this moment, or I'm shrinking back into a lower version of myself that we just don't want to be and we don't want to give weight to. So, with that being said, I would like to talk about how disappointment births trauma, and trauma changes the way that we show up. And when we think of the feeling of disappointment, something even may just kind of not feel good in you because you relate it back to a person or a place that caused you to feel a certain way. But the thing that's interesting about disappointment is that it causes a decline of expectation. That after your disappointment happens, something in you literally shifts, and there's a chip away at your expectation for yourself and for others. So now you expect less from yourself, or you expect less from others, when really you are designed to think bigger and better than you do every single day, because we're supposed to be elevating. Quite literally, our whole being is supposed to be elevating daily. But the feeling of disappointment can cause us to stay stagnant, or can cause us to even be scared to move because we don't know. Can I trust myself? Can I trust those around me? And ultimately, can I see the end that I hope to see? So the danger of disappointment is that the child in us basically begins to die. And when I went through my season of anxiety and depression and even suicidal thoughts, I literally got to watch had to watch the death of the child in me. And scenario after scenario, I just began to shrink. The child in me just began to shrink. And I realized after something happened in my life that really rocked me, that the child in me had died. And the good thing about this was that I had the choice of allowing her to resurrect, which she is alive and well now. But the bad thing was I was so tormented by my own actions, by my own thoughts, that it made me feel like I was in a place that I was so disappointed I didn't even want to expect better for me, which is terrible, because if you cannot expect good for you, do not expect others to expect good for you. If you cannot show up and say, regardless of my past, I want to make this day great, do not expect someone else to say, you can do it. Go for it. No one really cares at the end of the day. And that's just my brutal honesty, that you can live a mediocre life and you'll get claps every now and then for the good things you do. But there will be no one there saying, there's a better version of you out there. Please go find him or her. When we begin to accept less for and from others, we basically bring ourselves into a false sense of peace, because it's peace that you begin to make with mediocrity, and peace you begin to make with complacency. So you're moved by things that really aren't that exciting because you're in a stagnant place mentally. You are clapping for things that really don't deserve the applause because you don't understand how great you are. And I think what's interesting about mediocrity is it's everywhere. Like, the majority of the world is like this. And they just go, and I can pay my bills, I can live my life, I'm not terribly sick. This is a good life, and that may be okay. But when I know and realize how much greatness is inside of all of us, I desire to see more out of people, out of projects, out of life, out of our journeys, because I know there is more. So if you are out there watching this and you feel like there is more, you're not tripping. There is more. There's more to your mind. There's more to your understanding. There's more to how you can show up in this world. There's more that's calling you. And if you're feeling that pull, it's because this is such a crucial time in the earth that you're either going to step up into who you're meant to be, or you're going to shrink into who the whole world says you are. And We're not doing that over here. Okay? So, if you aren't stepping out in faith in this time, you may feel like you are protecting your vulnerability, and this is something that the world would like us to do because it makes us feel safe. But at the same time, when you protect your vulnerability, you are also almost hiding yourself from the expectation of a miracle. And I realized that in order to have an expectation for a miracle, I have to feel very vulnerable. I have to feel like the piece of my mind saying it won't happen, irking me, and the other piece saying anything is possible. Go after it and go do it. And I'm here rooting for you. Okay, there's like a gangster in me, and then there's like this little girl that she always needs a little pat on her back. And I'm learning the girl in me, so I'm able to give her what she needs while also attaining to the woman that I am. And I think that's such an interesting thing about disappointment. You have to be able to say, I'm a new person. Whatever happened, whatever disappointment it was, I don't want to allow the domino effects of what that did to me make me show up as if I don't expect the best for myself, because it can still happen and it will still happen. The power of our words during a time of feeling disappointed is so important. One thing I promised myself is that I would only speak life. And so this is very hard to do when you feel disappointed, because you want to feel heard. You want to feel like you got it all out. And a lot of the times when I realized I was having these moments that, no, that they need to hear me. I need to at least get out how I feel. Like, I feel terrible. I feel disappointed. I feel unheard. Like, I want to scream on the inside. I realize these feelings are really just meant to be felt, appreciated, not suppressed, and then almost soaked in you to the point where you say, I know I've felt this way, but I know there is still better. Because one of the domino effects of disappointment is causing you to hide yourself from the possibility of greater. And the hiding of yourself can become an illusion because it stems from an unsaid or a said and unmet expectation, which may have left you in this feeling of feeling disappointed. But what I'm here to tell you today is that man, and when I say man, anybody may have caused you to feel disappointed, but God never will. When I was at my lowest point in my life, I decided, God, I really want to walk with you. I don't want to just know you in the essence of church. I don't want to just know you in the essence of when I'm praying. I want to walk this thing out with you and see the best version of myself really have center stage. And what God has shown me and taught me is that people can disappoint you because we are all so fragile. People can disappoint you because we all have a bit of fear in us that sometimes causes us to not move from the greatest versions of ourselves. But He will never do you like man does. He will never disappoint you. He will never fall short. He will cause the things that were trying to come against you to work for you. And I've been able to see that in my life to the point where I'm not speaking from a hope for you. I'm speaking from a place of knowing that God has the ability to turn everything around in your life. Okay? That's no rap cap, baby. When I say that, for those who don't know, that means I ain't lying. The things that God has shown me, it's like we are living this life that looks so small or sometimes feels so meaningless when God has really chosen you to do something that only you can do in this earth. And I think the fact that you're even still alive after a whole pandemic should say there's a reason. There's a reason for the breath in your lungs. There's a reason you still have these ideas in your head. There's a reason you still have a bigger hope in your body, and it's because you were literally made for more. If you feel like there is more, it's because God's like, don't think of the past. There's something new that I'm doing in this season. And what I'm here to say is that the feeling of disappointment, the no's you've heard before, the things that have not worked for you might make you feel like you shouldn't go after it, but you are so capable of going after it that I don't want your feeling of disappointment to stop you from birthing what God wants to birth through you. So learn how to expect more from God as He loves showing up in a place that has room for Him. I always felt that I was like praying more and asking God to come into my life. And it was like He was like, I have no room. And I was like, nah, I'm praying. Like, you have room. And He's like, make room. And so I started to think of this analogy of me driving in this car. Let's say it's like I don't know, like a truck. Okay. And it's pretty big and it's full with stuff. And I take some stuff out. I'm like, God, please come in with me. And He's like, I still don't have room. God, take some stuff out. Lay down some anger. Lay down some hurt. Lay down some bitterness. God, come in. I still don't have room. Still don't have room. Okay, lay down my past. Lay down my perception. Keep praying. Start fasting. See what else is left. What else am I holding on to? God, please come in. I still don't have room. And until I got to the point where I said, God, I just surrender to you. Whatever you want to teach me, however you want to show me, and however you want to grow me, I surrender to you. It was like there was something that shifted in my atmosphere. There was something that shifted in my mind. And He was like, I'm going to sit with you, and I'm going to teach you, and I'm going to bless you. And in the time that God actually said He was going to bless me, my eyes were filled with tears. My heart was filled with grief. And I felt like the lowest version of myself. I was embarrassed. I felt hated. And I was still like, I know there's more. And so I embarked on this journey of healing. And now I want to open what I've learned up to you guys and create this community that will heal together and love together, because there's always more. So maintain your knowledge that God is your source and affirm that fact when you look to Him as your source and not like as you look to people. Because I think a danger of disappointment is that we begin to pray as though we're praying to a man, a woman, as though we're praying to someone. And you always know that when you ask for something, there's a possibility of you not getting that thing that you desire. But when I started praying as if I'm saying, you can do no wrong, it's different, because I had a surrendered heart versus a heart saying, I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to be hurt again. I'm going to hold back a little because I don't know what you're about to say. You know, when you can't really trust someone and you just like, I'm going to say this thing, but I'm going to hold back a little because I can't take another blow. I can't take another hurt happening to me. So approach your life now as though anything is really possible, and just decide that you're going to lean on God and He will truly renew your hope. And this sounds better than it looks, because the times that God has had to deal with me and renew my hope, there was a lot of tears involved, and there was a lot of crying, and there was a lot of yelling at times, and just not understanding what I was going through. But God, when you decide to sit with Him, will give you a strategy on how to communicate your desires in places that you once felt misinterpreted or really just silenced. Sometimes our disappointment can come from a place of just feeling silenced, of just feeling like no one has heard me in this place of my life. But God is saying, cast your disappointment at His feet and decide you will move with the lessons that you've learned, and say that I ain't no L's, baby. Those were lessons. Ain't no losses. Those were lessons to teach you how to show up as the woman or man you are today. Those were just trainings to teach you how to function as a strong person in your mind, as a strong person in your will, as a strong person that knows who you are from maybe not the brightest of days, but from the rain that happened in your life. You will learn that the weight of being disappointed can literally be transformed into the weight of your calling that has literal weight of God's glory on it. There was a specific prayer I was praying to God, and I was saying, God, make the divine exchange, because one of my absolute favorite scriptures now is Isaiah 60 and Isaiah 61, and we'll definitely visit those. But it says in there that he will give you the oil of joy for mourning and the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. And I started praying, God, here is my feeling of disappointment. Make the great exchange with me. I want to make the great exchange with you, God. Take this for this. So maybe your prayer tonight should be, God, I still have feelings of disappointment. I still have feelings of inadequacy. Make the great exchange with me and take this and give me that. And I'll become a whole new person, and just wait on it. Because one thing I thought with God is like, I'm about to pray and I'm about to wake up different. And lately I have been, I'm not going to lie. But in the beginning, oh no. I go to sleep crying. I wake up and wanting to cry. And I was just like, God, take me out of this. Take me out. Take me out of this. It got that serious that I would just wake up heavy and go to sleep heavy. Have you ever woken up still tired? Baby, it wasn't the sleep. It's because I was sleeping and my soul wasn't resting. But ever since I decided to cast my cares at the feet of Jesus, oh baby, this sleep is sweet. Because I'm saying, not my will anymore, not what I hoped, not what I dreamed. God, give me yours. And when I start to see that, it just changes who I am. So I want to leave a verse with you guys today, and I always want to leave one with you guys, and a practice as well to carry throughout the week. So first we're going to start with a practice. And this is something I want you to do either in the morning or the night. That's when our minds and our bodies are most vulnerable. So think of the place that you may feel the most disappointed. And I want you to picture it. And when you do picture it, you may cry, you may feel grief, you may feel sadness or anything like that. But after that, decide, I surrender this feeling of disappointment. And in the very next moment, imagine your hopeful, expected end being renewed. Despite what happened, despite what you've been through, despite who left, despite who stayed, say from this moment of how I'm feeling, I'm going to set a new hope. I'm going to set a new expectation. Because something that the opposer, the enemy, who we'll talk more about that as well, something that the forces that are against us don't want us to have is hope. Because once you have hope, it turns into true faith. And once you have true faith, you can do anything in this lifetime. I have said it, I've spoken it, I've believed it, and I am now seeing it in my life. And it's amazing because it causes you to sit in the seat of whatever I speak can happen. Whatever I desire can happen. Whatever I hope for can be translated. So the very place that you felt that disappointment, start to picture, what would you like to happen now? If you had a heartbreak happen in your life, if you had a sickness happen in your life, if you went through anxiety, what would your best self think? And just think, what would your best self look like? What would she sound like? How would she be when she gets up? Start envisioning these things. And whether you do this for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, just a moment, just let that sit and let that be how we start this. You envisioning the greatest version of yourself, not moving from a place of feeling disappointed, but a place of feeling hopeful that the best is still yet to come. So the verse I am going to leave you guys with is from Proverbs 3 and 5 to 7, and it's titled Guidance for the Young. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. Hallelujah. And I'm going to leave that with you guys. And if you are someone who knows scripture, you've definitely heard that verse. And if you haven't, I'm wondering, okay? If you haven't, I'm questioning things. I'm just kidding. So Just think of what it means to trust in the Lord and lean off of your understanding. Lean away from what you know. Lean away from what you've been through. Lean away from your perception. Lean not on your own understanding. Because the last point that I'll leave with you is that when you are disappointed, you're leaning on what you hoped would happen. You're leaning on what you would draw out for yourself. And in my journey with God, I realized the very things that He has used to strengthen me would be the very thing that, if they said, pick from A to E, what you did not want to happen in your life, I would pick this. I would pick the very thing that I've gone through as a thing I just never want to go through. And I'm laughing now, thank God, because look, He would change it to just, my perspective is different. That the very thing that disappointed me was the very thing that caused me to level up into who I am today. The very thing that left me feeling crushed was the very thing that caused me to say, this is not my end and there is more to come. And so I pray that this can be something that you hold with you throughout the week. I am so excited for Soul Care because I have a vision that this world will truly become more self-aware, more soul-aware, so that we can show up better as people, as sons, as fathers, as mothers, as wives, and be whole, to be with complete peace, lacking nothing, missing nothing, needing nothing from the world. This is my prayer and my hope, and welcome to Soul Care. I'm always going to break it down for you guys, and I look forward to sharing my testimony with you guys as well. But it's been fun. We're going to keep these always under 30 minutes because life is life, and we're going to get this word and keep pressing on. So this week is, do not be led by your feeling of disappointment, but be propelled by your expectation of more. All right. I love you guys. Peace.